His name was Raymond, 67 years old, retired school principal. He swam 3 times a week without fail, every Tuesday, every Thursday, every Saturday morning. His doctor called him a model patient. His family said he was the healthiest person they knew. He didn't smoke, he barely drank. He walked, he watched what he ate, and he swam. And then one Tuesday morning, at 9:14 a.m., in the middle of a public pool in front of a dozen other swimmers, Raymond's heart stopped. He didn't make it. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. I've spent 23 years as a cardiac surgeon, and when I tell you Raymond's story, I tell it not to frighten you, but because Raymond did almost everything right. Almost. There were 3 specific things he did before, during, and after his swims that loaded his cardiovascular system like a pressure cooker. 3 things that looked completely harmless. 3 things that millions of people over 60 do every single time they get in the water. And no one ever told him. Here is what I have learned after 2 decades of operating on hearts. Swimming is one of the best cardiovascular exercises a person over 60 can do. The science on this is overwhelmingly positive, but it is also one of the few exercises where the surrounding habits, what you do before you jump in, what you do the moment you get out, how you push yourself in the water, can create a perfect storm for a cardiac event. And the cruel irony is that the fitter and more committed you are, the more likely you are to make these exact mistakes. By the end of this video, I will give you a clear, step-by-step protocol, what I call the Safe Swim Protocol, that you can follow starting with your very next session. And I promise you, every single point will surprise you. Because none of this is common knowledge. Most doctors never bring it up. Most swimming instructors don't know it. And most of the people who need it most are the ones who think they're already doing everything right. Stay with me. What you hear next could save your life, or the life of someone you love. Let me start with what most people don't understand about swimming and the heart. Because once you understand the biology, everything else will make sense. Swimming feels gentle. You're floating. There's no pounding on your joints, no heavy breathing in the heat. But underneath that calm surface, your cardiovascular system is doing something quite dramatic. The moment you submerge your body in water, your heart rate changes, blood pressure shifts. The pressure of the water against your chest wall actually compresses your thoracic cavity, your chest, and forces more blood back toward the heart all at once. This is called the diving reflex, and even in a pool, even swimming slowly, it is very much active in your body. In a young, flexible cardiovascular system, this redistribution of blood is managed effortlessly. But in a body over 60, with arteries that have lost some of their elasticity, with blood pressure that may already sit on the higher side, with a heart that works harder to compensate for stiffening vessels, that same reflex becomes a challenge. Not an insurmountable one, but a challenge that demands respect. And here is the part that matters most. The 3 dangerous habits I'm about to describe don't create that challenge in isolation. They amplify it. They take an already demanding cardiovascular moment and push it into dangerous territory. Let's start with the one that gets people killed. Habit 1. Getting into cold water without preparation. Here is what happens physiologically the moment a person over 60 steps into a cold pool without warming up properly. Your skin temperature drops almost instantly. Your body reads this as a threat. Your sympathetic nervous system fires an emergency signal, the same signal it would fire if you were being chased. Adrenaline floods your system. Your heart rate spikes. Your blood vessels constrict sharply all across your body, squeezing blood toward your core. Blood pressure surges, sometimes by 20, 30, even 40 millimeters of mercury within seconds. In a healthy young person, this response is dramatic but manageable. In a person over 60 with any degree of arterial plaque or arterial stiffness, that pressure surge hits vulnerable spots in the coronary arteries at exactly the wrong moment. Vulnerable plaques, deposits that have been quietly sitting in the arterial wall, can rupture under that sudden pressure spike. When a plaque ruptures, The body's clotting system responds immediately, forming a clot at the rupture site. If that clot blocks a coronary artery, the result is a heart attack. In a pool, surrounded by the noise of splashing water, a person experiencing the early stages of a cardiac event can look like they're simply struggling with their stroke. By the time someone notices, the window for intervention has already narrowed. A study published in the European Heart Journal found that sudden immersion in cold water, defined as water below 25 degrees Celsius, caused significant and acute cardiovascular stress in adults over 60, particularly those with pre-existing hypertension. The researchers specifically noted that the risk was highest in the first 60 seconds of immersion. The first 60 seconds, the moment you jump in. Raymond's pool was kept at 22 degrees Celsius. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, every Saturday, he dove straight in. No warm-up, no gradual entry. He'd been doing it for 11 years without a single problem. Until the Tuesday, he didn't. But here's what I need you to understand. And this is the part that gets missed completely. It's not the cold water itself that is the villain. Cold water swimming, done correctly, is actually associated with cardiovascular benefits. It's the abruptness, the unprepared plunge, the body being ambushed when it had no time to adjust. The solution is not to avoid the pool. The solution is to change how you enter it. Before you get in the water, spend 8 to 10 minutes warming up on dry land. Gentle arm circles, slow marching in place, some light shoulder and hip rotations. This is not a gym warm-up. You're not trying to build a sweat. You are simply signaling to your nervous system that exercise is coming. You are giving your heart rate time to rise gradually rather than spike suddenly. Then, instead of diving or jumping, enter the water slowly. Wade in from the steps. Pause at the waist. Let your body adjust for 30 to 60 seconds before you start swimming. That pause is not weakness. That pause is cardiovascular intelligence. That single change could have saved Raymond, and it can protect you. Habit 2. Pushing through warning signals in the water. Now here's where I need you to pay very close attention, because this habit is driven by exactly the wrong kind of determination. Most people who swim regularly over 60 are, by definition, motivated. They get up early, they make the effort, they have a goal, laps to complete, a time to beat, a distance to match. And that motivation is genuinely valuable. But that same drive creates a dangerous filter in the brain, one that dismisses symptoms that should never be dismissed. Cardiac warning signs during exercise feel different in the water than they do on land. On dry land, chest pain tends to be harder to ignore. But in the water, with the exertion of swimming, with water pressure on the chest, with the adrenaline of the effort, early cardiac symptoms can easily be misread. A tightening in the chest feels like breathlessness from effort. A heaviness in the left arm feels like muscle fatigue from your stroke. A strange pressure behind the sternum, the breastbone, feels like the exertion of turning your body. And so people keep swimming. I want to give you a specific list, and I want you to memorize it. These are the signals that mean stop now, get out of the water, and sit down immediately. First, any pressure, tightening, squeezing, or burning sensation in the chest, even mild. Not sharp stabbing pain, which is often musculoskeletal. Pressure, squeezing, like something sitting on your chest. Second, pain or numbness radiating to the jaw, left shoulder, or left arm. In the water, people often dismiss left shoulder discomfort as a stroke mechanics issue. Do not. Third, sudden and unexplained shortness of breath that is disproportionate to your effort level. If you're swimming at your normal pace and you suddenly can't catch your breath the way you normally would, that is a red flag. Fourth, lightheadedness or a sudden feeling of something being off. Cardiologists describe this as a vague premonitory feeling. Patients often say later, "I knew something was wrong, I just didn't want to stop." Fifth, nausea during or immediately after swimming. This is an underrecognized cardiac symptom, particularly in women and in people over 65. The rule I give every patient over 60 who exercises is this: any symptom you would not normally feel on a rest day when it appears during exercise, is a signal worth taking seriously. You can always get back in the pool tomorrow. You cannot undo a cardiac event. Tell me something. Have you ever pushed through discomfort during a swim because you didn't want to quit early? Most people answer yes. And most people have no idea that the symptom they pushed through could have been their first warning. The body often gives one. Habit 3. The post-swim window. What you do in the first 15 minutes after getting out. This is the one that surprises my patients the most. Because by the time you're getting out of the pool, the swim is over. Surely the risk is behind you. You did the hard part. You exercised safely. Time to shower and go on with the day. But the cardiovascular data tells a very different story. The 15 minutes immediately after stopping intense exercise, particularly swimming, is one of the highest risk windows for cardiac events in people over 60. And almost nobody talks about it. Here's why it happens. During swimming, your heart is pumping at an elevated rate, blood is being distributed efficiently to your muscles. Your blood vessels, particularly in your legs and arms, have dilated significantly to accommodate increased blood flow. Now you stop abruptly. You climb out of the pool. You stand up. Suddenly your heart rate begins to drop, but your blood vessels are still dilated. Blood pools in the extremities, your legs especially, and the blood pressure in the central circulation drops. If that drop is sudden and steep, the heart, which is now trying to recover from the exertion, can go into a dangerous arrhythmia, an irregular rhythm. In a heart that has any underlying disease, any silent coronary artery narrowing that hasn't yet caused symptoms, that arrhythmia can be fatal. This phenomenon is called post-exercise hypotension, and it is significantly more common and more dangerous in adults over 60. There is a second element. When you get out of a pool and stand in cooler air, your body temperature drops rapidly. This triggers the same vessel constriction response I described at the beginning. Blood pressure spikes again. And now you have a blood pressure spike layered on top of a heart that is in the process of recovering from exertion. The combination is genuinely dangerous. What does this mean practically? It means the cool down after your swim is not optional. Do not stop and immediately stand still. Do not abruptly get out and sit in a chair. Spend the last 5 minutes of your session swimming very slowly. Easy, lazy laps, almost afloat. Let your heart rate come down gradually while you're still in the water. When you get out, keep moving gently. Walk slowly. Shake out your arms. Take 10 slow, deliberate breaths. Do not sit down immediately, and do not stand completely still. Give your cardiovascular system 10 to 12 minutes to rebalance before you rest completely. And one more thing. Do not take a very hot shower immediately after swimming. A hot shower dilates blood vessels even further and compounds the post-exercise blood pressure drop. Warm is fine. Hot is a risk you don't need to take. I had a patient, a 71-year-old retired engineer named Gerald, who had been swimming competitively his entire adult life. He was fit, experienced, and careful in the water, but every session ended the same way. He climbed out, toweled off briskly, walked to his car, and drove home. One morning, he made it to the parking lot. His neighbor found him slumped over the steering wheel 20 minutes later. Gerald survived. He was lucky. When I reviewed his cardiac history with him, the swim itself had been fine. The drive home was the problem. His post-swim cooldown was 0 seconds long. Gerald now spends 12 minutes after every session doing a walking cooldown before he touches his car keys. He's still swimming at 74. The hidden amplifier, dehydration and swimming. There is a fourth factor I need to add, because it interacts with all 3 habits I've already described. Most people don't drink water before or during a swim. It feels unnecessary. You're surrounded by water, you don't feel hot, you're not visibly sweating, but you are losing fluid. Your body sweats in the water. You simply don't notice it because the surrounding water washes it away. Your breathing increases during swimming, and every exhaled breath carries moisture out of your body. Studies have consistently shown that swimmers can lose between 300 and 800 milliliters of fluid per hour without realizing it. In a person over 60, even mild dehydration, a drop of just 1 to 2% of body weight in fluids, causes measurable thickening of the blood. Thicker blood is harder to pump. It moves more slowly through arteries, is more prone to clotting, and places higher demand on a heart that is already working hard during exercise. Dehydration also reduces the effectiveness of the cardiovascular system's pressure regulation mechanism, so the blood pressure swings I've been describing, the spike on entry, the drop after exit, become more extreme when you are even mildly dehydrated. The fix is straightforward. Drink 400 to 500 milliliters of water, about 2 glasses, 30 minutes before you swim. Have another 200 milliliters waiting at the poolside to drink when you exit. It's not complicated, but for most swimmers over 60, it is simply not happening. Let me bring everything together, not as a warning, but as a plan. Because here is the truth, after 23 years in the operating room, I am not asking you to stop swimming. Swimming is extraordinary medicine for the aging heart and body. I am asking you to swim smarter, to give your heart the conditions it needs to benefit from everything the pool has to offer. Here is the safe swim protocol. 5 steps. Commit them to memory. 1. Hydrate before you go. Drink 2 full glasses of water 30 minutes before you leave for the pool. Not when you arrive, before you leave home. 2. Warm up on dry land for 8 to 10 minutes. Arm circles, shoulder rolls, gentle marching. Then enter the water slowly from the steps, pausing at hip depth for 30 to 60 seconds before you begin swimming. 3. Know your 5 warning signals. Chest pressure, left arm or jaw heaviness, unusual breathlessness, sudden lightheadedness, nausea. If any of these appear during your swim, you stop. Full stop. Not after your lap. Immediately. 4. Cool down in the water for 5 minutes before you exit. Slow, easy movement. Then continue moving gently for 10 minutes after you get out. No sitting still. No hot shower immediately. Give your cardiovascular system time to rebalance. 5. Drink another glass of water as soon as you exit the pool. Your body needs it whether or not you feel thirsty. That is it. 5 steps. They cost you no money and very little extra time. And they address every single mechanism that turns an ordinary swim into a cardiac event. Your body has been working for you for over 6 decades. It is still capable of extraordinary things. But it needs your help now in ways it didn't need at 30 or 40. That is not a failure. That is biology. And biology can be worked with once you understand it. Start this protocol at your very next swim, not eventually, next time. And I want to ask you something in the comments below. Which of these 4 habits did you recognize in yourself? Because I'll tell you from experience, almost everyone who swims over 60 recognizes at least 2. You're not alone. And now you know what to do about it. If this video gave you something useful, please share it with someone you know who swims. There is a very real chance that share saves a life. I mean that without any exaggeration. And before I go, everything I've shared here reflects current cardiovascular research and my clinical experience. It is not a substitute for your personal medical care. If you have any history of heart disease, hypertension, or arrhythmia, please speak with your own physician before modifying your exercise routine. That's not a formality. That is genuinely the most important next step I can give you. Take care of that heart. It's the only one you have, and it's still fighting for you every single stroke. See you in the next video.